guys, back with another video. This one might take a little bit to film just because it's going to be on the long end, but ultimately what the purpose of this video is to see what's going on with the block or with the head gasket of this swap. As far as motivation on the project and everything like that, it is not good. I am at the point where I would very much rather give this whole thing up in exchange for something that I can actually drive. It's been going on, well, this is year 4. It'll be exactly 4 years in October, and I've never driven this thing, despite all the time and money and stuff like that. So it's really starting to get to me. Really starting to get tired of the big operations, especially when I was at the point where pretty much done with cleaning up stuff and getting everything good to go for first drive, and now I got to take everything back out again. So yeah, motivation's not the best on this one right now. The car is currently up for grabs. If I get a decent offer or a decent trade, I probably will give it up. So I'm just let that be known for now, just in case there's a moment in time where on the channel it's a saying goodbye to this thing video. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to see what's going on with it. Since I'm currently not doing too much of anything and nothing but time, might as well. So I did my research on it, and what I think it is the head gasket. I don't think there's a crack in the block. The car hasn't been running or driving nearly long enough for anything like that to happen. There wasn't any cracks when I got it, so I don't think that that's the case. I don't think the block is warped because, again, it's not been running or driving long enough for it to get to temperature intentionally. What I think it is the fact that I used the MLS head gasket on it without getting the head resurfaced properly by a machine shop. I think that's the reason why it's not fully sealing. And also I hear cosmetic is, trash. So to fix that, we have these two things. I talked to a machine shop, the one that I will be taking it to, and as you can see, we have a Tomei. This is a rb25 Neo, just a little bit over factory spec head gasket from Tomei, which is better than the cosmetic one that's in there. And then the other thing is, in here is actually a sharpening tool, or a whetstone sharpening tool. So when talking to the guys at the machine shop, they said that typically what it is it's the head that's not resealing or that's not smooth to reseal. The block typically doesn't have to be, decked. In order for those to seal, all you really have to do is just take a whetstone and go over the block with a little bit of oil in between on the fine side, and that'll just clear everything right up, allow you to see if you have any cracks, anything like that. So that's what I'll be doing once I get the head off. And then of course I'll be taking the head, dismantling it, and sending that to the machine shop. In the meantime, I don't know if I will, but I have thought about it because it's one of those, you might as well do it while it's there. But I have thought about getting the head ported and polished since it's going to be there anyway. It just depends on the cost. Getting it decked doesn't cost much at all. It's about 70 bucks at the shop that I'm going to be taking it to. So that's fine. And if that's the cost of getting it decked, then ported and polished probably isn't that much more either. And it might be what I go for. But it'll just be dumping more money into it if this is not the thing that fixes it, or that is the problem. It'll be a waste. So I'm still debating that. But that's enough for today on the updates and rundown. What I'm focusing on for today is disassembly of the hot side, and then maybe tomorrow or in a couple days disassembly of the cold side, and then we can start taking the head off and go from there. But yeah, mostly want to get the hot side off. If I do it in a decently fast-paced time, then sweet, we could probably start on the cold side. I'm doing the cold side second because it's just more little components and stuff like that that's associated with it. So we'll just go ahead and get started on this. I don't really know how to record this because it's not so much a how-to, it's more vlog style. I will probably do like a little time lapse of the disassembly of the hot side. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just turbo, down pipe, you know, the piping, the lines and stuff like that, and then the intercooler, the manifold itself. And then that'll pretty much be all that I gotta take off of the hot side. The cold side, of course, is the intake fuel rail, all the injectors, the coolant lines, and stuff like that that go to it. Disconnect the intercooler piping and all that jazz too. And of course, we got the stuff on the head, spark plugs, the strut bar that's over it, all the covers and stuff. So another thing is we most likely will have to remove the timing belt to get that head off as well. So it's an intensive process, but I'm just gonna get started on it little by little, and eventually we'll get to that point. So let's just go from there. All right, so that was a long process, but not too long. I'd say I've probably been here maybe 3 hours before I got started. So yeah, about 3 hour job. Got everything off on the hot side. I mean, the gasket's still on there, but for the most part, everything's off. All this space. I might take the time while doing this operation to clean up a few things. I know I'll definitely tighten the new oil line on the bottom, even though it is tight. I just want to make sure that I got clean access to it. Probably take the time to install the brake line relocation, that I got all the space to run the lines with ease and all that other stuff. If I wasn't taking the head off, then I'd probably tie the lines for the boost control solenoid so they could be flush around the rear head drain. But since I'm taking the head off, I'm not able to do that because it would be pointless. Stuff like that. But just taking a look at my setup, figuring out some of the things that I do need to change. I got access to the column, which I do need to figure out how to lengthen this because this keeps popping off of the actual steering shaft. And the actual power steering, the low pressure hose curves around here, and it curves around the dump for one of the wastegates, and I just haven't been able to figure out how to make it just go from there to there without having to make like a custom AN line. But I don't know the specs for this AN line since it's from Chase Bays, and that's what's throwing me off with this. I wish they made an adapter to this that could turn it 90 degrees, then everything would be fine. But you know, that's something that I'm gonna have to figure out, especially now, so that I can keep having power steering. The rest of the power steering lines and stuff are good because they're right here by the firewall, which is straight. And then that's it for the most part. So I got 3 hours of footage. This probably be if I do it into the time-lapse form, probably be a little bit. If it's around 20 minutes long of a video, then I'll just end it here and do the other side in a different video. But if it's like condensed down to like 6 minutes or something, then we'll go ahead and do the other side because I still got plenty of energy. And yeah, we could go ahead and start knocking that out. But outside of that, just some of the stuff that I had to remove. Before this goes back in, I'll wrap the downpipe and the heat wrap that I had over there. Check the turbo. The turbo still has no play whatsoever. Back and forth, side to side, none of that stuff. It is perfectly fine. So we're all good on that end. One of the things on the list was these little water or these little block off ports for my wastegates. Gotta make sure that all of them are blocked off. For this one, it looks like they're all blocked off, because those are for the water ones, with the exception of this top one right here. So I got one block that's missing for that one, and then the other one's on the actual wastegate, so on the actual manifold, so I'll have to check that. But so far, everything's still looking pretty decent. I mean, it should still be looking pretty decent. It's not like it's ran or anything. But yeah, so cold side's a little more complicated than the hot side. You got all your wiring, your injectors, and all that stuff, throttle body. So that's why I wanted to save it for second, just because it's a little more intuitive. Go ahead and get these headlight wires out the way. Just right there. But yeah, so for this one, everything that's not connected to the block is gonna have to be uninstalled. So that's gonna disconnect the intercooler piping. Hopefully I could take the whole intake off all together, so I could just probably pop off the piping here, disconnect the throttle body or the throttle cable, all the vacuum lines that are red, disconnect the injector connectors, you know, all the wiring harness stuff. And then you got underneath, which is, you know, the ones that go to the manifold, the vacuum lines. You're supposed to run the Wiring Specialties harness under here, so there's a second thing. And after that, you should be good. I think the rest of it is still connected to the block, so it's mostly just removing this intake manifold that we gotta do. So starting with this, I don't really have to worry about draining the coolant for the water pump, even though that's part of the block. But you know, any coolant lines and stuff like that, don't have to worry about it because I drained it from the oil, so we're good on that one too. But always good to start by draining all your oils and fluids and stuff before you get into an operation like this. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this one and keep it going. All right, guys, hopefully I put this all in one video because it didn't really take that long to get that one off in comparison to the hot side, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at here. I got both sides off, hot and cold. The next thing is just getting the head off, so it'll be all the valve train stuff, the ignition stuff, and then the front side because we got to take the timing belt off too. And so that'll be the stuff that's next. I'm probably going to save that for the second part because I'm definitely sure that this one is long by now. But yeah, so we got this one good. Frees up a lot of space. When I originally did the swap and the wiring and everything, it was with the engine out of the car. So now I got the opportunity to like touch stuff like that freely. You know, I might reroute some of the harness and stuff so it's a little more clean and all that. Just, you know, taking the opportunity while I got it and make it a little more adept. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and plug these holes into the cylinder so that nothing gets in there, and do the same for the intake just in case, you know, spiders and stuff, whatever. But like I said, I'm gonna end it here. So like, comment, subscribe, follow the build. This will be part 1 of the head diagnosis, which is really just disassembly. Part 2 is going to have that disassembly I was just talking about. And when we get to the head, oh my god, I can't talk. When we get to pulling the head off, that'll be actually taking a look at the cylinders, seeing the surface and all that stuff, and then hopefully not finding a crack in the block or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's just the surface not being machined on the head side. So it'll be that, and then probably the last part would be removing all the components of the head, camshafts, valves, lifters, you know, all that stuff, shams, buckets, so that it can go to the actual shop for the for getting decked, possibly poured and polished and all that stuff. So that'll be that. But yeah, until next time.